The Average Fox is back in the shop. Ladies and gentlemen, let the games begin. I know you clicked on this video so I can show you how to deal with this disaster that we have occurring. You got to Dukes of Hazzard yourself into this car. But I can't think of a better place to start this whole series off and show you what is going to occur as far as parts are concerned on this car. So I thought I'd run you guys through this real quick. I just finished doing a bit of an inventory because this parts order was absolutely massive. All right, like I'm talking thousands of dollars worth of parts here that are all going to go on the Average Fox. And something that I cannot stress enough, especially when you've placed a big order, is go through and inventory all of your parts. Make sure you got everything you need, especially when it comes to like goofy little small hardware. And I'm speaking from experience here, we got missing hardware. Actually, for how big of order this is, I'm honestly floored that there's only one item missing. And I got to give a massive shout out to Kelly Jackson at LMR. If you guys haven't chatted with this gal, she's absolutely phenomenal. Mustang lover through and through, her and her better half. Great, great people. Anyway, I'm dealing with her, and in true LMR fashion, they're going to send me what I'm missing, like no problem. At any rate, as far as parts are concerned that we have going on to this car, let's start big picture here. This guy here, this box is nothing more than a spare tire cover. This car's missing one. That over there, carpet for the rear of this thing. It did have carpet in it. However, the guy that owns this car runs a trucking company, and he was packing some hydraulic oil in the back, and it tipped over and spilled. It's not good. It actually leaked down through the rear of the car, and it's like all in the gas tank cover and everything. I got to take that out and tidy it up. Anyway, here we have an interior screw kit. We got new door handles. We got new window rollers. We got run channels. We got the firewall to hood gasket. We've got some motor stuff. This is sensors, solenoids, things of that nature, gasket kit. Gonna be pulling the throttle body and farting around with that stuff. This is a rear disc brake swap that's gonna be applied to this car. So for those of you wondering about getting rid of your rear drums, this install is gonna be for you. Stick around for that. What else do we got here? A full power steering swap, okay? I mentioned this in my first video. If you guys missed that, I'll give you a link. You can go back and check out my kind of initial impressions on what I've deemed the Average Fox. Somebody swapped that thing over to a manual rack. Don't ask me why. Anyway, we're going back to the way it should be, power steering. And if you are in this scenario, be forewarned, it's not as cut and dry as you think to just order a power steering kit and go back to the way your car should have been. This is actually a lot of thinking to place this order and get it all in one foul swoop. So if you're interested in hearing more on that, maybe comment below or send me an email. I can try and steer you in the right direction. We've got some interior seals. We've got a coil cover in there. I forget what's in that box. There is like just parts beyond parts going on here. Oh, we got rear control arms, the bolt kit, all kinds of stuff. So this is going to be the beginning of a long-term series with this car. What I'm doing with this car, and I try to do this with any of my own projects and any of my customers, I try to steer in this direction, is it's like, let's get this car to a good, solid baseline, okay? Like, let's fix this car up in bite-sized steps. So that's why we're starting with all this stuff, right? And then what's gonna happen is he's gonna take the car, He's going to go out for a weekend or two, enjoy the car, get used to it, and then you go on to the next step. Versus throwing like tens of thousands of dollars at a project, getting lost while you're doing it, not even remembering why you started or where you're trying to get to with the car. Then they get shelved, then they get forgotten about, and they never get finished. So this is why I like doing this. Let's get the car to where you want it to be in bite-sized steps. That way, you know, you can enjoy each and every step and not get lost along the way. So without further ado, folks, now that you've seen some of the things that are going to be going into this car and some of the upcoming episodes, let's get after figuring out how we can get into this driver's side door so I can stop crawling through the window or coming through the passenger side.
Okay. Here we go. Right. So this was the old way you had to get into the average Fox. Well, it's actually still the current way because everything's still jacked up. That or Bo and Luke Duke style through the window. Now what's going on here is both handles have busted. So this door it may as well be welded shut. Now both handles to go on you at the same time is relatively uncommon, but one will go, and typically what it means is you got something going on in behind there with the rods, and if one goes and you don't tend to it right away, chances are the other one's going to go too, and then you're in this situation. So it's very difficult to access any of these rods from inside the car. It's not impossible, but it's more difficult because you're dealing with such tight quarters and you can't get the panel off very easily unless you want to get real rammy and real rowdy. So your best bet is, well, if you're super gifted and you can come down in behind the window, like this is kind of locksmith territory, you can go at it that way. But the way I'm going to try and tackle this is I'm going to go in from the outside. I'm going to try and access the rods from there and see if I can't get this handle to give me like one more crack at opening the door. And then once we got the door open, then we're off to the races. We can get the panel off and see what's going in behind there. So I'm going to come around. We'll try and get this latch, outside door latch open, and see if we can access the guts of this door. Okay, here's a look at what's going on from the outside here. You can see that this whole mechanism has snapped and is no longer engaging the rod. Now, it's difficult to see in there, especially through a camera, but the rod still is attached to the handle, which is a good sign. It means that maybe, possibly, I can get this guy to like sit in place and engage one last time so I can get the door open. But long story short, this handle's shredded. It's going to need a new handle, so we're going to be drilling out these rivets. I'll show you how to do that without mangling up your paint here. Don't ask me how I know how to avoid mangling up your paint. Sometimes you got to touch a hot stove to know it's hot. So see if we can get this guy to catch one last time here. Oh, nice. Right, so we're in. Now, quick little side note / public service announcement. Please, please, I'm begging you, for the Foxbody community, don't be this guy or gal, okay? Like, that's Bush League stuff. I know sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, but honestly. Furthermore, some of the hardware that was holding this armrest on, well, this in particular, that was what they're using as a top screw, right here. You've ruined the acceptance, like the female threaded portion on the door forever. Like that's now toast. check this out. So anyone that's had a manual window car, you know that this isn't a Phillips screw, it's a Torx head screw, and it's a machine screw, not a regular tapered screw. So again, now this acceptance piece for the window roller is hooped. It just, I don't know, you see all kinds of stuff, and I know we've all done crazy stuff, especially if you've been at this a long time, but this is just a whole nother level. Now, you've got no way to go back unless you start changing out all of this hardware. You're literally stuck with all this junk for the rest of this car's life. So for whatever that's all worth, folks, please take your time. There's screw kits you can buy from LMR, so you don't have to do all this. Spend the 30 or 40 bucks and just do it right the first time. Okay, let's see what we got going on behind this. What looks to be residential vapor barrier. I guess at least there is vapor barrier for whatever that's all worth. I think the back snapped right off of that unit. Ooh. Found the culprit. So all the teeth are chewed up in this thing. The pin that holds this in place has completely backed itself out. Let's see if we can, I don't know if we can save this guy or not. All right, folks, so I got the pin pushed back down in here, but you can see the teeth, like the gear section of this whole unit is just chewed right up. Now, you might be able to get by with this for a little bit, right? And it's doing what it's supposed to do. But this housing that the pin ties into is cracked. This poor handle's just seen a better day. So we are going to throw one of these new ones in there. Hope that it's got a little bit more oomph behind it. Obviously we'll free up and lube up all these rods and stuff too, but here's a new unit. Oh, that's a whole nother world. All kinds of movement. So yeah, we'll drop this guy in there. That should at least allow us to get in and out of the door from the inside of the vehicle. Looks like whoever's remaking these, ACP, has beefed up some of the pins. This guy in particular. It's actually, looks to be more of a screw-in pin. Yeah, look at that. A little more stout than this original. Actually, I don't know if this is original or not. It might be. Anyway, we'll drop this guy in there and at least get one half of this door opening process figured out. Okay, new handles in, and it works a heck of a lot smoother, but what I've run into here is this rod that opens your door is bent quite bad. And as I was working on this, it's kind of made me think a little bit about what's probably gone on with this car. I mentioned in my very first video that I think this car's taken a pretty significant blow right here in the driver's side door. And when you're in the cab and the door's closed, you can see a huge gap underneath the door. I think this door is actually quite bent, and it's probably the original door that's just been straightened and or repaired in some way, shape, or form. Maybe just got a new skin put on it. Anyway, it leads me to believe that I think this rod was probably original to the door as well and took the brunt of some of that blow, whatever it is, pole, sign, T-boned by another car. So what I've done here, I threw a zip tie in here, and now everybody knows there's a time and a place for zip ties. But what's going on if you can see down in there, is this rod gets quite close to the window gear that runs your window up and down, and it's like hitting against it, and that whole rod's binding up on it. So I've just loosely, I haven't snugged this right down, and nor will I. This is more or less just going to be a guide for this rod to ride in to keep it off of that gear. It runs a lot smoother. Before the handle was getting hung up and not returning to where it should be. You can even see what it's doing there. So not an ideal fix, but without a replacement rod, that's about as good as we could get. So yeah, moving on. Now we got to be able to access this car from the outside. So let's peel this handle off and get that changed out. All right, folks, I think most of you out there have done this, so I won't bore you with the step-by-step, massively in-depth how-to, but the one thing that I want to stress to you, and this comes from lots of experience, get yourself some heavy-duty tape. I know some people might knock that when you're putting it on painted surfaces, but trust me when I say this, you're going to want something with some oomph behind it, whereas masking tape doesn't really give you that same amount of cushion. Because if you slip off here with your drill, you're hitting paint. It's not so common in the drilling scenario when you're removing as much as it is when you're riveting. You get in here and they're big rivets that hold these on, and you start yarding on them, and when that rivet pops, boom, you're drilling the paint. So get yourself some decent tape on there. You don't have to, you know, stick it on there for life. Just put it on there so you got some good protection. And make sure that you're not gonna bang anything up when you're in here drilling away. Okay, so now you can see what snapped here. If you compare to this side, you can see there's a metal pin that runs through these two plastic bits. Well, that pin has broken out of here. Now, why you would have plastic in there is beyond me. Metal and plastic don't work well together. Well, they do, but only for a limited amount of time. So that is why some of these repop handles are just trash. You can see it still does what it's supposed to do, but as soon as you lift up on this handle, this pops out. This was all still connected, doing what it's supposed to do. So anyway, we have another handle here that we're gonna try. This I actually found in the back of the car. Looks to be an original Ford handle. Maybe it's just been tweaked to work a little bit. Wondering if I can get this, I might be able to get this plastic insert out of this one and get it onto this handle. Looks like this car's had some door handle troubles in the past. Folks, quick look at the final product here. Now, I want to point your attention out to that dig in the tape right there. You remember I mentioned earlier about using some heavy duty tape? Well, that's why. When you get yarding on these rivets, and I mean these are proper sized rivets, you get 3 pulls out of your, again, proper sized rivet gun. You can't, well, I don't know, if you're a gorilla, you might be able to do this with like a handheld rivet gun, but you need something with some proper leverage to it. When you come off of that rivet, that gun goes wherever it wants to. And that's exactly why I even nicked it a bit there. But that's why I use the heavy duty tape, because you got to get kind of aggressive with these things. Anyway, we're back in business. All right, folks, next. So I was going to make mention of, you know, lubricating your window run channel here. This one is dry. There's absolutely nothing on it. It is still somewhat working, plastic to metal, but take yourself some like lithium grease and lube up that shaft. All right, all jokes aside. Now, when I was doing that, I come to find yet another problem, and I mean, this is what I guess makes me call this car, it just justifies my whole average Fox thing, right? So when you go to roll this poor window up, I'm gonna give you a look from here. Look at it, wants to like jump out of the channel. Well, folks, I'm here to tell you, like, this is not rocket appliances. You can easily adjust your window, okay? You got a nut here, you got a nut on bottom, and then you got this kind of standoff, which, yeah, I mean, sometimes the felt's gone on these. But anyway, you can loosen these nuts off, get your window doing what it needs to do and sitting where it should sit, and then tighten everything back up again, okay? Like, it's really, truly not rocket science, okay? So I'm gonna loosen these off, and I mean, I guess I could show you, but like every window is gonna be a little different. The trick is just loosen them off, get your window up and in place, okay? Then tighten them back down. Don't like break the nuts off tight, but just confirm that it's gonna wanna run down properly without too much force. Run it up and down a few times, and you'll get a feel for where it wants to sit and how it should seal. And then once you're good and satisfied with how it operates, tighten the nuts back down. Folks, so you've seen how simple that was. It takes no time at all. Right, nice and smooth. And oh my God, wouldn't you believe it? The window seals again. Go figure. And that's in a not so straight door too. So yeah, you can, with these adjustments, you can mask a lot. One more thing that I wanted to point out to you here, guys, I just kind of left that out in the last one, is like lube everything up that moves, okay? Throw some grease in there. You'll thank me later when your window reel doesn't break off. This stuff gets pretty dusty and crusty, and especially the age that our cars are getting. So yeah, lube everything up. Couple of quick adjustments, right? And you can have your windows sealing again in no time. And finally, I've got some hardware bits and pieces I'm gonna put in the door here. Some new window rollers. These poor guys are tired and seen a better day. And I mentioned earlier about the hardware kits. So this one's from LMR, gives you all the bits and pieces you need to restore the hardware in your doors. Very valuable. Hopefully we can breathe some life into these tired old door panels. I don't have replacement speaker grills, which you can get. Man, those screws drive me nuts. Stop doing that, please. Whoever out there's doing it, stop. Do it right. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna get after putting this door back together. I gotta do a similar scenario on the passenger side. I don't have to replace door handles and stuff, thank goodness. But gonna be doing a little resto on that door panel as well. And then we're gonna get after some bigger hard parts here. I've actually got some little stuff here too. I think everybody's probably tired of seeing folks show you how to fix things like this. Look at that, like somebody's literally glued this on. It's, yeah, bush league. But anyway, I think I'll leave that stuff out. That's kind of boring. And we'll get after doing the hard parts. So I think up next, we're gonna do the rear disc brake conversion. That's those boxes right there. Get this thing up in the air. and start swapping that over. And then we got the power steering. I'm waiting on the pump. I was gonna buy it locally. Turns out my local parts stores aren't that much help to me when it comes to 30-year-old stuff. So I actually couldn't find the lines. I could get a pump, but it was rebuilt. And yeah, rebuilt doesn't always mean rebuilt with brand new parts. That's a long story. Maybe we could touch on that on the podcast that Chris and I do. Rolling in my 5.0. If you haven't checked that out, please do. It's on Apple, Spotify, all the podcast platforms. So anyway, thanks guys. As always, I appreciate your views and I hope this video helped you. If it did, please share it around. That's why I do these videos, to try and help the community bring these cars back to the former glory that they once had. Anyway, thanks a lot guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye for now.